mind. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to our third of 4 Amherst College live Q&A sessions. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And tonight we're going to be talking to some of our throwers, jumpers, and multi-eventers. And a multi is a pentathlon for women indoors and a heptathlon for men indoors. And then for women outdoors, it's a heptathlon. And then for the men outdoors, it's a decathlon. So they're doing anywhere from, 5 to 10 events in a day or two, which is really awesome. I just want to explain those events because we didn't have those when I was at the high school level. So we're just going to go ahead and just start to do some introductions. So I'll start. I'm Veronica Rocca. I'm one of our assistant coaches. I actually graduated from Amherst last year. So it's my first year as a coach, but 5th year overall. And I coached the long sprints group and I helped out with cross country as well. And I'm the host of this. So we're going to have everyone else go ahead and introduce themselves.
I'm Coach Rubin.
Hi. Oh, you go first.
Sorry. We had an order and I jumped it, but I'll go ahead and go. I'm Coach Rubin. I'm the head men's and women's track and field coach, and this is my 3rd year at Amherst College. And and I'm from Philadelphia originally. All right, now we can go to the athletes. Sorry, I was out of order.
Hi, my name's Troy Collar, and I'm a sophomore from Boise, Idaho. I'm a chemistry major, and I do the multi-events.
Hey, I'm Casey. I'm a 1st year from Charlotte, North Carolina. I do long jump and triple jump. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hi guys, I'm Annelise Romero. I'm a sophomore environmental studies major from Stuart, Florida, and I also do multis.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Zovich. I'm a 1st year from New Hyde Park, New York. I'm a biology or chemistry pre-med major, and I'm a thrower.
Hey everyone, I'm Coach Rubin Godette. I'm from Orange, Massachusetts, and I work with the throwers. This is my 1st year at Amherst College.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for those introductions. And I'm a little mad, Rubin, you jumped the line, but it's okay. I'll forgive you. You're the boss. Everyone was cracking up on our end. I could see we were all on mute. So one of the first, big questions of, why people end up choosing Amherst is, why did you choose Amherst? So I'd love to hear from the student athletes. What made you choose Amherst and choose to be part of this team and go to this awesome school?
So I kind of had a weird path to get to Amherst. When I was going into my senior year of high school, I thought I wanted to go to a huge school, not run track, and be really far away from home. But kind of as the year progressed, I started to doubt myself. So I decided to go take a PG year up at Phillips Exeter in New Hampshire. And while I was there, I had a full change of heart and decided I wanted to go to a small school and definitely wanted to run track. So I reached out to a few NESCACs and ended up visiting Amherst and talking to Rube and just had such a good feeling when I went there. I loved the vibe that he was explaining to me about the team. And so I decided I applied ED and got in. So that's how I made it.
Similarly to Annelise, I needed a little bit more time. I didn't take the whole PG year, but I was an RD applicant, regular decision. For me, it was kind of, Rube was one of the few coaches that was going to kind of take a chance on me a little bit. I wasn't getting too highly recruited. But really what just attracted me to Amherst specifically was I really knew out of high school that I wanted to go to a high level academic school. And I think that was really the main, school-wise, that was really the main influence that brought me to Amherst, and as well as the small class sizes. I think it's really a good learning atmosphere.
During when I was deciding what colleges I wanted to go to, I knew that I wanted to run track, but I wasn't necessarily sure if I would. like based on like recruiting and stuff like that. And I'd taken a few visits before talking to Coach Rubin that had been like okay. So I was kind of leaning towards we went to a practice at Smith, and that was actually I was it was really fun. A lot of okay, you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, Casey, we lost you for a little bit there. Would you mind backtracking? You said you had talked to Rube a few times, then we lost you until you were talking about going to Smith.
Okay, all right, all good. Coach Rubin picked me up from the airport on my visit, and it was like a nice hour and a half drive to Amherst, and we were kind of just having a good time, and he was really nice. We talked about, I think we talked about the 76ers and then having a rough year and stuff like that. He wasn't very happy about that, but it was fun. It was fun, and I went to Smith, had a good time. Went ate with the team, had a great time, and spent the rest of the day with Lorenze, who's a sophomore on the team. And just the vibe and everything that I got on campus was just unlike anything I'd had like on any other visits, like athletically or just like to watch the college. And I kind of just knew from then on that Amherst would probably be my top choice. And so fast forward to a year later, and I was there. So
To be clear, it was only 45 minutes. It just felt like an hour and a half.
Sure.
For me, athletics kind of came second. I wasn't even thinking about doing track and field in college. So with Amherst, of course, it's so great academically. And I knew that I wanted a smaller school with a tight-knit community in a cute college town. And so Amherst kind of fit that mold for me. And then then I reached out to the coaches, and once I went on a tour of Amherst, I absolutely loved it. And then I met the coaching staff, and I just had there were so many good vibes and such a good feel that I knew it was the place for me.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for your answers. And I think, a similar common theme is it just felt right when you came to campus, which is a great feeling. So I'm really happy that Amherst was a place for all of you, because you're all wonderful people and wonderful members of the team. And I'm so glad you're a part of it. And then the next question that we have is, what was your transition to college like? And then also, how are you able to balance your, not only, your commitment as a student, but also as an athlete and other extracurriculars you're involved in, and how it works out with practice and stuff?
I feel like those questions kind of go hand in hand for me, because I thought that the hardest part of transitioning was kind of trying to balance all of those aspects of college life. Um, but it honestly just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience. I think that Amherst really gives you the resources available that make like being successful at a high ranked college that much easier. The professors are just like so approachable. I know I talk to them like after class, they come into office hours, they always just like want to help. So yeah, it just makes a lot. It wasn't that bad. It just takes time.
For me, being on a team adds structure to my day, which is very helpful. I think that you're going to be at practice or at a meet for this many hours, so you have to have assignments done before and after, otherwise it's just not going to work. So I found that it makes it a little bit easier. But with balancing, I found it was the same as high school. Of course, college is a little more rigorous, but in high school you kind of learn how to balance, and then college is a little bit more, but it's pretty good. And then, of course, like Annelise was saying, the professors are super helpful. I go to office hours in between classes when I can. So Amherst really has all the resources for us.
I'll say a little sort of similar to that, but I found that my ability to manage my time in college has gotten actually better. Mostly because my high school experience was like, I get up at 6:30, go to school, I practice after school, don't get home till 6:30, 7, then I have to eat dinner and all that stuff, and I'm not starting homework till like 9 o'clock, 9:30. but you know, in college, it's like you get there, you only have maybe 1 or 2 classes a day on some days. And so you have a little bit more free time. And I think that kind of actually, I was expecting going into it to not be able to manage that time, all the extra free time. But actually, I think it made me learn to manage my free time a little bit better. And so while the workload might be a little bit tougher than in high school, I think a lot of people learn to manage their time better and to when they have to do things, when things have to get done, and how to be efficient with it.
Yeah, similarly to what Troy was saying, in high school, I felt like I didn't really have a lot of time to do everything I wanted to do. I lived about like an hour from my school, so like going to school and coming back was like a big hassle. And you know, after like showering, eating, stuff like that, like doing homework was just just felt like so just tasking. And so now because you're on campus, it's a lot easier to get a lot of things that you want to get done in like a timely fashion. And like I find that even like with the stuff that I want to do outside of track, outside of academics, I'm able to do, and it's like not too much of a burden on like my time schedule. And I really appreciate that about the whole college environment and everything like that. It's nice.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for answering that question. I know another similar question we got was, how do coaches help with balancing all those things? So Coach Rubin and Coach Godette, could you guys chime in about how the coaching staff helps everyone balance all these things?
Well, we're facilitators, and the object is to have a fully engaged academic experience, because you can hear from all these students that that's what they want. They chose the school to a very large degree based on the academic experience they're going to get. So whether it comes to picking the classes, whether it comes to picking the majors, whether it comes to having the flexibility to do extracurricular things, extra academic things, whether it's meeting with professors for office hours, whether it's being a research assistant, all of those things, we are facilitating all of that. So when a student comes to us and says, "Coach, I've got a big..." The dog agrees, but when it comes to all that, all they have to do is communicate. So they say to us, "Hey, Coach, I got a couple of big tests tomorrow. What can we do about practice?" We may move practice to another day. We may move practice earlier or later. We may shift, like flip one easier day for another day. And we may just make a permanent different schedule during the week if the student has a lab, or if the student has a certain extracurricular responsibility, or whatever it is. So that's the whole ball game right there, to allow the absolute top level of performance academically, to make every session on the track feel really valuable and really fun and really a great experience, and then to give them the opportunity to just be regular students and do the other things that the campus offers.
Awesome, thanks, Rubin. Another pretty common question we got was for, meets, are people typically missing classes? And also, if you want to study abroad, are you able to do that? And how does that work with being a member of the team?
Students can go abroad, and we encourage it. It's a great program, and it definitely comes with some level of compromise when it comes to the track experience, because students at Amherst go for 4 years. It's not very common for students to go beyond 8 semesters at Amherst. So that means that generally in your junior year, either in the fall semester or in the spring semester, and we encourage the fall because it's out of the competition season, but either in the fall semester or the spring semester is the best time to try to do the semester abroad. and students will come to us and they'll let us know that they're doing that. And yeah, sometimes it will mean that you can't have the optimal track and field experience. But in my opinion, it's worth it. In my opinion, the experience of learning abroad is one of the best learning experiences you can have. And it is a tremendous growth opportunity. And so even though it is not necessarily to the advantage of the team at all times, I still think it's worth it. So I've never told a student, I've never discouraged a student in any way. In fact, I encourage students. I hope that they can hopefully do it in the fall if they're in the spring competition season. But sometimes the classes and the majors that they have just simply don't allow that, and that's okay.
Awesome. And then the first question I asked part of that, Rube, was do people typically miss class often for meets, and how does that work?
No. We're very intentional about making the travel schedule such that almost all the meets are on Saturdays, and because we're in such a densely populated area of colleges, we can travel to most of our meets Saturday morning, compete Saturday, and be back Saturday night. If we're traveling farther, say to a school in Maine or a school in Northern Vermont or a school in Pennsylvania or New York, we may leave the night before on Friday night after class, after dinner. They won't miss any class. We'll stay in a hotel Friday night, do the meet on Saturday, and generally be back Saturday night. Very, very few circumstances are such that the students may have a meet on a Friday. That happens pretty rarely, and we don't require it. It comes down to kind of what's in the best interest of the student in those situations. The faculty are generally really, really cooperative if that does come up. But I would say on average, the vast majority of the team misses 0 to 2 days of class for the entire indoor and outdoor season. So that is by design so that we don't ask the students to stretch their schedule or stretch their energies too much to try to make up work and stress themselves out in that process. We want to make this an enjoyable and successful process, not a stressful one.
Awesome. Thanks, Rube. So for the student athletes, a very common question we got was, what's a typical day look like for you when you're on campus and not home and doing online classes and stuff? So could someone tell me maybe what like a normal day is like when they have school and practice and stuff?
Yeah, so I would say a typical kind of day. I don't know if it's a very cookie cutter, but I think in general, I mean, most classes are before we're ever going to have practice. So it's kind of you get through your day of classes. Depending on how your schedule is, you'll probably have some kind of time. I know usually for me, my classes I'll have labs that go kind of right up to practice. And so I won't usually be able to work. Either I'll work sometime during the day around lunchtime, or I'll work after practice a lot. I think that's how most of the people are on the team is they'll do classes, do practice, and then a lot of the work comes after practice. And I think that's pretty typical, especially like for a weekday when you have classes and we practice basically every day. Practice is kind of varying in lengths. Sometimes it'll be, like our throw day will be a little bit shorter, and so we won't be there as long. But like a vault day or a hurdle day with a lift or something will take a little bit longer. And there's a lot of planning around kind of your work schedule or your kind of classwork schedule around those days to kind of fit in work time where you have the most time on the day. Every day in terms of meals, usually, you go to the dining hall and you got a bunch of your teammates there. And so we all eat meals together, breakfast, lunch, dinner every day pretty much together. And so typical day is kind of the same, that kind of flow.
Awesome. Thanks, Troy. I just want to add to what Troy was saying. Practice every day is held at 4:15, and we really generally cap it at 2 hours. If you have, one more lift in your exercise and one more exercise in your lift yet left, and it's 6:15, we'll let you finish it up, obviously, but we're really not going too long. So it really does help facilitate your ability to be a student and an athlete. So thank you, Troy. And then another common question we got is, how does housing work maybe when you're a first year and then also when you're, leaving your first year and eventually choosing your rooms once you're a sophomore?
Hey, so I'm a first year, so I guess I'll give some insight on first year experience. How it works is before you come to school, Amherst will kind of send you a survey or something like that about like your room preference and like things that you would like in a potential roommate. And the way that our housing works for freshmen is that they have like a whole quad pretty much designated for just first year housing. So there's about 5 dorms, I'm pretty sure. And this year I got Charles Pratt dormitory, which is, arguably the best dormitory on campus, or so I've heard. I don't know. But yeah, I got Charles Pratt, and I really enjoyed it. It was really nice. I lived on the 3rd floor, which a lot of people didn't know that we had. It's 2 floors up, obviously, but there's only about I'd probably say 8 or 9 rooms. There's about 16 of us on that floor, so it was a close knit community. We were all like a little family. It was really nice, and I really enjoyed living with those people. And yeah, that's kind of how first year housing works. Those are the only places you can live, are the 5 dormitories in the freshman quad. And it's kind of like in the center in campus too. So it's a really nice location. A lot of people come out into the quad when it's nice out and, play Frisbee or, hacky sack or something like that. But it's like a really nice location on campus because everyone crosses through it usually at some point in the day. So yeah.
So room draw after freshman year is a little bit different. Basically what happens is you're randomly assigned a number based on your year. So within sophomores, within juniors, within seniors. And then based on that number, you pick a room with your room group or your roommate or whoever. And so you're assigned a time slot where you're allowed to pick your room. And there's so many dorms. There's so many options to choose from. A lot of different room types also. There's singles, doubles, 2-room doubles, which is what I had this year, which is basically just 2 singles with a door in between. And then there's also suites, and that can vary from, I think, 4 people to around 10 people. And it's just a bunch of rooms coming off a central common room. So yeah, room draw is pretty easy after freshman year too. It's pretty easy to find a room that you like. I know a lot of us were in Greenway, which is one of the more modern looking buildings if you've visited campus. And it was just so much fun to be around all your friends all the time.
Annelise was talking about suites, and that's just another kind of thing that's available after your freshman year. I live in one with 2 of my teammates, Ben and Henry. And it's kind of a fun experience to be able to live with your teammates. Usually you don't have that option freshman year, but I know a lot of people on the team do kind of live together after their freshman year once they enter the room draw.
Awesome. Thanks, Troy. I just want to add to that, you don't have to live with your teammates, but it kind of typically ends up being that way. And then also Amherst does guarantee housing for all 4 years while you're a student at Amherst, which is great. And, about 1% of students live off campus. So it's very few and far between. So it's very much a residential community. So I want to make that one clear. And thank you all for answering that one. I know housing is really confusing and picking rooms can be really fun and exciting. So I know I always really enjoyed picking my room. And then the next question we had was, what was one of your favorite team activities that we did this year?
So I think that the coaches do a great job on team building and planning activities, especially with a team like track and field that is so huge. We have so many players. It could be hard to kind of build that community. Just in my first 1 year at Amherst, we've done paintball. We went laser tag. We've done team trivia, which got very competitive. We did a day during interterm, which is a 3-week session in January that students come back for classes and winter athletes come. And we did this whole day of games, and we all were divided into teams. And they were just quick little games, like you have an Oreo on your forehead and you have to try to eat it without touching it, without using your hands. So we just the coaches have really created a great community where we all just have a lot of fun. But what really comes to mind, which I guess isn't a planned teamed activity, is when we all watch the 4x4 at track meets. I experienced it at the Little 3 meet, which was my first meet at Amherst. And the 4x4 is typically at the end of a meet. So everyone's kind of done with all their events for the day. So everyone is able to watch. And no other team was screaming and cheering on their teammates like Amherst. And that was just amazing to be a part of. I think in that moment, you really feel a sense of pride for your team, and you see how we all come together. And while we're all doing different things, and it is in a way individualistic, we are really a team at heart. And the 4x4 is absolutely crazy to watch. And at the Little Threes, the men actually, they won their 4x4, and it was just absolutely crazy seeing them cross the finish line. So that was not a planned team activity. I think that really shows like what Amherst track and field is. It's really just this big family. And yeah, it was amazing.
Awesome, thanks, Stephanie. I do want to add to that, what made it really special about winning the 4x4 at the end of the Little 3 championship meet was that when the men won, they won the 4x4, they won the whole Little 3 championship for the first time in 31 years by a point or two. So it was a really big deal, and the whole team was going nuts, and it was certainly crazy. So it was really awesome for the first years for it to be their first, college track meet ever. So I just want to give some context to that. So one question that Elizabeth just asked in the comments, and please feel free to ask any other questions you have. We're all here to answer your questions, is how much of a difference is there between high school practices and college practices? And how easy is it to adjust / how did y'all adjust to the, the rigor of college practices? So everyone, feel free to chime in.
In my experience, I think a college practice is a lot more structured. Depending on kind of how your high school coach was, but one thing I did really notice was just how many, or like everybody's engaged because everybody's here to do track. At least at that 2-hour section of the day, everybody's there to do track. Whereas in high school, it kind of seems like there's some people who are just kind of there because they wanted something to do for a spring sport, or their parents made them go out and do track. But at the college level, everybody's there because they want to do track at the collegiate level. And so I think there's just kind of that focus that makes it a little bit of a different atmosphere, a better atmosphere in my opinion. Adjusting wise, I think like most of the people who are coming to college to do a sport already kind of have that mentality. And so like I found that most people tend to fit into the practice pretty well, just with the mentality. On the mentality side of it, everybody has that same, they want to get better kind of mentality, and they're there to do track. For that, at least that section of the day, everybody's there to come together for that goal.
Yeah, I'd probably to add on to that, I'd say the biggest difference that I felt between high school and college practice was probably the energy levels. So like building off of what Troy was saying, in high school, because like he said, there's a lot of kids and like there's a lot of varying degrees of like commitment or like attitude towards the sport. Also because there's like a whole bunch of event groups, practice seemed to like really informal at times, and people are kind of just doing their own thing, doing the workout, like getting out, things like that. But when I came to Amherst, I realized that, everyone there obviously wants to be there, but they also they show it in a lot of ways. Practices are really high energy. Coach plays music during them, which I really appreciate. I'm not gonna lie, he does a fairly good job on the aux. I'm not gonna gas him up too much, but he does a good job on the aux. And yeah, everyone's moving around doing something. You're like usually cheering on a teammate if you're not doing a drill or workout, and it's kind of just a really positive overall environment, and that's something I really enjoy. You can catch me at some point, usually dancing somewhere during practice. So yeah, that's what I enjoy the most about our practices, at least.
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Troy and Casey said. One thing that I would add is, maybe it's unique to my experience, but my track coach didn't really know any events, and I was trying to do like all of them. And so just like the difference of knowledge level from the coaches has just helped so much with me like understanding exactly why I should be doing what I'm doing. It just makes it not only like the progress come a lot faster, but also just a lot more rewarding in general. So that might be a difference for a lot of high schoolers.
Yeah, to follow that, especially all the events here in this lab are very technical. And I can speak for throws specifically, I'm now able to look at a video and be able to see what I'm doing wrong. Even if I can't fix it right away, I know exactly what I'm doing, and being able to really understand the technical aspect is something completely different than what I had from high school. I think it's way more specific now to me, rather than in high school, you just kind of had to do it on your own because there is so much going on. So having the benefit of having your own event coach and then just being able to completely learn about your events has been really great.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that, Stephanie. I could see Coach Trayvon smiling when you could say, when you were saying, I can see the errors I'm making and can't quite fix them, but I'm into that process. So love to hear it. So kind of on the note with training and practices, I'd love to hear from Coach Rubin and Coach Godette, what's training like for your event group? And I know, Rube, you're coaching, everything from the multis to the jumps, and Trey, you're coaching, 4 different throwing events, which are all, different in their own ways. But if you just kind of walk through what your general training philosophies are, and maybe how a week is structured.
So, so the way that the throws trainings are kind of going, we typically aim to have each season sort of develop from power to speed, and also with that, we tend to have it develop from part of the throw to whole throw. So early in the season, you have an extra lift day, so about 4 lifting days a week, whereas later in the season, we're probably going to have about 3. And earlier in the season, we're doing a lot more drilling. A lot of the drilling for people that, for example, didn't throw hammer or weight before will be just a lot of turns, a lot of, pausing progressions through the throw. Later on, I think one of the most advanced training that we had for our drills for hammer was a double wire hammer turn to really work on, the posture and whatnot. But aside from the overall progression throughout the seasons, we typically have a designated throw day throughout the week. So earlier we go like shot put disc, and then we'll go hammer the next day. Then we'll do a lower body jab, and then we'll kind of repeat, but instead of hammer, we'll go weight. And then instead of upper body jab, we'll do lower body jab and swip shot around. As opposed to the schedule, it's typically warm up. Most of us warm up at the same time, so everybody's in the same area. We can see everybody getting ready for the practice. You get that family vibe. Then we kind of break off to our events. For us, it'll start with that drill, go as quickly into the full throws as possible, and then we'll typically do our lifts at the end if we don't have them scattered throughout the day.
If you get me started talking about technical and event-specific training, I won't stop, and we only have but so much time. So I'm going to defer, and since Annelise probably does the most events out of anybody here, I'll speak for you, Annelise. Annelise does the heptathlon, the triple jump, the 400 hurdles. She does the open javelin, which is part of the heptathlon. I guess she does about the same as a decathlete because she does like 10. But Annelise, can you tell people kind of how a multi-eventer takes care of covering so many different events?
Yeah. So I would say like preseason to early season, we're doing a lot of the endurance type training with the long sprinters. But then as the season progresses, like especially in the middle to end, we're mostly doing technical events like every day with maybe a tempo at the end of the week. Our rest day, which is like Wednesday, it's typically shot put, and we'll lift like 3 times a week usually. So yeah, it's nothing that you can't handle. It's honestly really fun to be able to do technical events every day. So I think Troy will probably agree with me on that one.
Yeah, I think being able to do a little bit of a different practice every day. I for me, I think it helps me stay a little bit engaged too, just because I know every day I have to, we're coming in and doing something different, that we're learning a new technique, learning a new drill or whatever it is. Like in high school, I was just a high jumper and a long jumper. And sometimes it was a little bit hard to stay focused if you're just doing 1 or 2 events every day. So I think just having that variety and being able to learn a bunch of new things, because that was another part of it for me personally, was learning the new events. That always kept me, excited to be at practice, just to be able to learn every day.
Troy, we also had a question about what a typical pole vault practice looks like. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think so. In the fall, when we're just doing captain's practice and the coaches can't be around, we stick to some more kind of basic drills, like just kind of walking, jogging, plant drills. First, just on the track, and then usually we'll bring the slide box out, and we'll do some slide box drills, and that'll kind of be what our fall looks like during captain's, or at least the captain's practice portion of fall. And that way we can kind of get right into it once we're back with Rube for some full vaulting kind of stuff, and we'll do some straight pole drills just to get the swings going. And we have a swing machine now. Rube invested in one, so that's been a little bit of a fun thing to kind of figure out and hopefully not get hurt on. But and then from there we'll do, we'll usually get into full jumps, and we'll spend the rest of the practice taking full jumps. Start from like a shorter approach and then get all the way to our back to our full approach and full jump from there.
Awesome, thanks, Troy. And then another question that we just got come in was, is it common for people to try a different event while they're in college? And I'll defer to Coach Rubin and Coach Godette on this one.
Yeah, actually, we've had a number of people try new events. We've had a lot of people who came in with certain events, and I mean, we had a guy come in this year who had never done track before and became a decathlete. I think Troy is one of the people who talked him into trying to do that, and he ended up being wonderful at it. And another guy who was a freshman this year was really just a javelin thrower, and he became a decathlete, also talked into it by Troy. So, but they loved it and they did really, really well. And sometimes it's, we just jump right in because they feel like they have a really strong passion for it and that's really what they want to do. And I always feel like you're going to do well at the things that you're really enjoying, and you're going to enjoy the things that you do really well at. So it works on both ends. Sometimes we'll just dip our toe in the water for a little while and we'll kind of see how the athlete responds. We'll see if they feel like they have an aptitude for it, see if they something they really enjoy. But at the end of the day, I find that if you find that you have an aptitude for it, you find that you can develop and have success in it, then you'll probably want to stick with it. So it's not, I want to make it clear that we don't make unilateral decisions as a coaching staff on what everybody does. We work with the athlete. It's a conversation. It's something that evolves usually. And oftentimes, in most cases, the athletes are coming to us saying, I would like to try this out. And at the end of the day, I think the motivation is they want to have fun and they want to find a way to contribute to the overall success of the team. And so certainly there are times where we're going to ask someone in a scored meet, like the conference meet or the regional meet, we may ask them to stretch a little bit and do some stuff, but we'll never do that if we feel like it's going to jeopardize the athlete's long-term health or short-term health. And we're not going to do that if we feel like the athlete has an opportunity to really excel at the national level, and that's going to put that longer-term goal, it's going to compromise that longer-term goal.
Awesome. And then Coach Godette, could you talk about, are people also for like the throws, are people typically learning new throws in college, and how does that process kind of work?
Yeah, so we had I want to say everybody in our throws group, besides one or two people, were doing every throwing event. And for most of them, it was learning the weight and the hammer for the first time. A lot of states don't do it. You know, it's illegal in some states. Some states also don't have javelin. So with that, we're starting very, very basic in the beginning of the season, not even touching the implement. Um, you know, just working on the positioning. But, you know, once I see that level of competency with the technique, then we'll start moving on and get really comfortable. It can be tough to get as comfortable as you would like before the first meet with a brand new event. But one thing I'm sure Stephanie can attest to is that as we're looking at our tendencies that are coming through with a new event, it sometimes shows us what we can improve on the other events. When you look at things like discus and shot put, having a very similar pivot foot and sort of hip drive, you know, if it's the first time doing discus and you see that, you can go back and look at the shot put and say, is this an area we need to work on here too? So sometimes it really helps to try a new event. A lot of our athletes are doing it. And also at the meets, it does kind of help when you can say, all right, maybe we didn't do well today in this event, but we have another chance to go get after it. And that is one of the aspects I really look forward to at the meets as well, as seeing where people can sort of make up ground and really show that, you know, they can come back after an event and really show what they got.
Awesome. Thanks, Trayvon. And then kind of similarly, this is a question about the jumpers specifically. So I'll defer to Coach Rubin and Casey on this one. Is, do jumpers typically specialize in one single jump event, or do they do multiple and kind of, you know, do a couple of them?
I'll start. It goes back to the same thing really with any event group. It really just depends on the athlete. I don't have a preconception for that. At the end of the day, I want the athlete to have a great experience. I want them to do what they're passionate about, because I know that that will lead to success and a more enjoyable experience. So we have kids who are primarily just long jumpers. We have kids who are primarily just high jumpers, kids who are primarily just triple jumpers and pole vaulters, and they could combine, and they could add sprinting, and they could add, we probably have 15 horizontal jumpers, and some of them, I'm trying to think if anybody does just one thing. Probably not, but we have kids who do hurdles and jump. We have kids who do short sprints and jump. We have kids who do long sprints and jump. Obviously, we have multi-eventers who jump. So we're open to anything. We don't walk into it with a preconception, and it's definitely something that we collaborate with the student on to make that decision.
Yeah, I'll probably say with jumps, the reason you see a lot of short sprinting and jumps is that jumps kind of incorporates like a lot of different aspects in its event, because you need to be able to sprint as well as jump and do all the technical stuff as well. So that's where you see a lot of the crossover and between like sprints, hurdles, and jumps, stuff like that. And so yeah, me personally, I'm just a long and triple jumper. I will say most triple jumpers long jump as well, because they incorporate a lot of the same aspects up until, like, you know, the jump itself. But beforehand, it's a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to add.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. And then another question that we got, this is again going back to Coach Rubin and Coach Godette, is, you know, what is the deal with competing? You know, how often are, you know, student athletes competing? And, you know, like I know we had mentioned, you know, that we're not really missing classes, but what's the travel typically looking like for that?
So with the throwers, we don't really have many meets we're not throwing in. There's a couple where, if especially early in the season, I don't think we're at a point where maybe our power position or our full throw is going to be efficient or effective to really put in a fast speed. We held back one meet this year, but other than that, we're doing, especially because we have some people doing new events, we're doing every meet with all the throws, and really taking every opportunity to throw. And that's one of the benefits you can do with throwing, is you can throw throughout the week and throw at practice. And, you know, once you get used to the lifting and everything, you can still give that effort, as long as, you know, you're still tapering at the end for the championship season.
Yeah, the competition schedule is tailored to each athlete because every athlete has a specific goal. Some athletes are aiming to win the national championship, and some are aiming to make the national championship, and some are aiming to score at the regional meet, and some are aiming to score at the conference meet. And so we work backwards from that, and we craft the competition schedule for each athlete so that it prepares them best for that big competition so that they're at their very best that day. So early in the season, we may have some meets where it is a more developmental opportunity and the competition level isn't as high, but later in the season, when maybe we're starting to taper a little bit or something like that, the athlete is in really, really high level competition, definitely is going to get a great atmosphere and is going to have an opportunity to have their best performance of the year that day. So it's all about designing the right number of meets, the right sequence of meets, understanding that each athlete will respond differently to competition. Some can do a lot of competitions and stay very healthy, and some need to space out their competitions more judiciously so that they can stay healthy. And that's all about communication, and it's all about planning, and it's all about getting to know the athlete so that we make something that isn't just a cookie cutter, one size fits all program. It's about making something that is right for that athlete that year and being ready to adjust it if circumstances change, which they often do.
And to kind of add on that, one thing that does make the communication really simple is we have weekly and bi-weekly meetings with our athletes to really stay in touch with everything that's going on with their lives and also how they sort of feel in any given moment. So that helps us stay in touch a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, that's another great point, Trayvon. And then this is a question that just came in from Michelle, and they're wondering, how do you treat the winter season? Is it a build-up / preparation for the spring season, or is it another serious season where the team goes after championships?
Is this one for coaches or athletes? Should we do?
Coaches.
We look at it as one big season. I think it's important that you have opportunities to improve every single time you step out on the track. And sometimes that improvement may mean that you're going to get a personal record. And sometimes that improvement is more subtle. It may be a small technical thing that you are getting more consistent executing. It may be your mental approach and your poise and comfort level when you're in the competition. There's so many different ways, but it doesn't matter whether it's a competition or a practice. We intend to get better every single time we set foot on the track or in the circle. In terms of the overall plan, yes, we want you to get better, and we will look for an opportunity to kind of target a point in the indoor season where you'll have your best performance of your life on that day. And then we want to have another one in the outdoor season. So the indoor season must build. We can't sacrifice the development of the outdoor season just to do well in the indoor season. We have to do well in the indoor season and make sure that that builds into continued progression so that you're even better when you get to the end of the outdoor season. And that's what consistent long-term progression is all about.
Awesome. Thanks, Rube. So some questions that we had come in, and this is kind of added some other ones. And this one is for the student athletes, is what is the team culture like? And then also, what does the team do for fun outside of practice? And does that include any, fun team traditions that the team does every year?
In terms of team culture, I think when Steph was talking about the 4x4 at the end of roll threes, I think that really speaks to it because, like she was saying, we're all there, we're all watching it, and we're all getting super excited for each other. This is specifically at meets, at least. We're all super excited for each other, and we all want to see each other succeed. At practices, we're all helping each other out. We all have that goal that, Rube speaks a lot to like team goals as opposed to individual goals. And 'cause individual goals are important, but in the end, we want to succeed as a team, and we want to build the program to be competitive. Winning NESCACs, winning New England, being competitive at the national level as a team more so than we want to do as individuals. And I think everybody really buys into that, and you can definitely feel that at practice and at meets and just hanging out with everybody. I know this year, when we found out about school and the season being canceled, one of the first thing a lot of people thought of was this was our year for NESCACs. We as a team, we were gonna go get NESCACs, and we were gonna surprise some people at the meet. And I think that really hit me. That spoke to me as all these people want, as a team, we all want to succeed together, and we all want to see each other do our best and get better for the sake of the team.
I think for me with team culture, what's really amazing is how connected everyone is, even though it is such a large team. And this is kind of playing off of what Troy said, but especially as a first year coming in, you're nervous and you don't really know the team, and you just feel an overwhelming sense from everyone of just everyone cares about you. Everyone wants to help you, even if they're upperclassmen who don't know you yet. And there are some upperclassmen maybe who aren't in your event groups, who you haven't really had the chance to get to know, but if you reached out to them because you're on the track team, they have your back. And that is something that is just so special and so reassuring coming in. And I think especially what was said about school ending, there were messages in the group chat, if someone needed a ride to a storage unit and an upperclassman helped them out, or someone was I'm going to get boxes, if anyone needs boxes, tell me, I'll buy them for you. And so that's just something that's really special about this team. And I think that says a lot about the team culture and how great it is.
Yeah, to answer the other question, because I completely agree with what you guys have said. Some things that we do for fun. I think one of my favorite things that we do is we started this thing. I don't know if it happened before last year because I wasn't here, but we all watched Bachelor together during interterm into the spring. And it's so much fun because we all just get into one suite and, laugh at the contestants and just have so much fun. And it's just a great way to unwind. It's in Troy's suite most of the time. So, but yeah, it just that's a lot of the stuff that we all do together. We just like hanging out together. And that just kind of goes back to what you guys have said about everyone just loving each other so much and just liking being around, liking supporting each other and making each other happy. So
Yeah, to build off of what Annelise is saying, we really love spending time with each other, overall. Not even just at practice, but outside a lot of the times. More often than not, I'll find myself eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner with kids on the track team. On top of that, we sometimes we'll all get together and play a game of basketball or something like that. We did a lot more in the first half or the first half of the year, which was really fun. That was nice. Sometimes we'll go to the senior suite and just play cards and stuff like that, order pizza. It's really nice. But yeah, just what I'm kind of get to is that we genuinely enjoy spending time together. And I think that helps build a lot in our team chemistry, when we compete, because we're really invested in the success of others, which I think is a really big part of how we were having such a good season up until the end.
Awesome. Thanks for pointing that out, everyone. And Annelise, I can tell you, I was watching The Bachelor as a first year with the team over interterm. So I think we've been doing that for at least since 2016 to my knowledge. So I know it's not a formal team tradition, but it's just something people always gather together to do. And I think something else that Casey pointed out was, people on the team typically eat together. And I think we could all say we've all spent maybe a bit too much time in our dining hall on Campus Val. We only have one dining hall, just hanging out with everyone, just having a great time. And the team just kind of tends to sit in the same tables every day, which is kind of weird. So I guess that's kind of a team tradition. It's just Val sitting is what we call it, just hanging out in the dining hall. I can see everyone smiling on my end of this. So awesome. Thanks, everyone. And then the final question of the night is, for the student athletes, what's your favorite part of being on the track team? And then for the coaches, what's your favorite part of coaching the track and field team?
This question kind of just builds off, like right off the last one, that, you know, we all hang out together, you know, kind of all the time. And that's not a forced thing at all. That's like we want to be together all the time because, you know, we're all friends. And I think that's definitely got to be my favorite part, is just like the connections I've made with other people. You know, like, this is a little bit cliche, but like track is fun and it's great to compete and I enjoy it more than anything, but it ends eventually. And I sure hope that after track, I'm still friends with all the people that I've made friends with, you know. Just, I've only been here for a year and a half. I've only been at Amherst for a year and a half, and just to have made connections like that where I want to maintain them for as long as I hope to, or as long as I can. I think that's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I just feel like being on the team is so rewarding in general. So that's probably my favorite part. Not only seeing people progress in like their performance, but also just like watching people, like especially the freshmen this year, like watching them just like become more comfortable and like become part of our team. It's just so much fun to be a part of. Yeah, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I'll also say best, like my favorite part about the team is probably like that 2 hour chunk that you get out of your day, where you can kind of just devote it to, you know, working on your craft, but also just having a good time. Because I know for a lot of people, of course, at Amherst, academics are fairly rigorous. So sometimes, you know, your studies can get to you, but like track kind of forces you to focus on something that's not so stressful for like at least 2 hours of your day, which I think is probably like the best stress reliever you could have, honestly.
Yeah, I think building off of that, track gives you the ability to kind of step away from any stresses that you're having academically, and just you're with people who genuinely care about you and who you all love what you're doing. Everyone's there because they love it, which is just so special. I know, speaking for the throwers, we have so much fun. We work really hard, but we have so much fun. And just looking around at the other event groups, you can see everyone just really cares about each other, really loves what they're doing. And like people were saying, for those 2 to 3 hours, you're away from everything else and you're all together doing this one thing. And so that's my favorite part about being on this team.
For the coaches, what's your favorite part of coaching the team?
It definitely has to be, you know, being a part of something that everybody knows is going to do something incredible and do something that hasn't been done before. And that shows in the amount of work ethic that these students have. I know with the throwers specifically, we've had some practices at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and just seeing everybody there ready to get after it, giving one of our athletes the aux cord and saying, let's bump it because we got work to do, for a 2-a-day session. That's something that, you know, makes every day valuable, seeing how much they care about it and seeing how much all the progress means to everyone.
At the end of the day, we are, you can tell by this group of people, we're very lucky as coaches that we have an amazing group of people to work with every day. And that's intentional. You know, we really try to find the people who are the all-stars of attitude, the people who come in with the best energy, with the most positivity, with the most desire to be part of a team and uplift their teammates. And I just think back to the last meeting we had, and I think somebody referenced this once, but we had a meeting when we found out that the semester was over, and when we found out that the season was over, and or not the semester was over, but that we would be leaving campus and going online like everybody has had to do. And we gave our seniors a chance to speak and reflect on their experience, because we knew it was going to be the last time we were going to be together this year. And that was the most emotional meeting that I have ever been a part of. People were crying, people were hugging, people were genuinely connected. And that's it. That's the game right there. The whole point of trying to win and achieve things as a team is so we can get to that. So that we can get to that connection that brings people together and makes your experience in college better. And that meeting affected me. I think it affected every single person on the team. And it reinforced the fact that it's all about us being together. We're going through this period now where we can't do that, but we are all, as coaches, as athletes, as everybody who's connected with the program, we're all richer for having each other. And so having wonderful people that you get to spend time with and who are incredibly supportive of each other and who want to be connected and be part of something that they can achieve together is the whole ball game as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Rube. So that's our last question of the night. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We're so glad. Thank you to those for submitting questions. I hope we were able to answer them. And please let us know if you have any other questions going forward. And I also know, a lot of people are wondering with, recruiting nowadays. I know it's weird with, really, I haven't heard of an outdoor season happening anywhere in the United States or around the world for that matter. So we're certainly not going to hold your lack of an outdoor season against you. And, please just reach out to one of us if you have questions about yourself, because it's best to address, you as an individual in your situation because you're unique. And we want to make sure that we address that. So you can reach out to Coach Rubin. That's strubin@amherst.edu. And Trayvon's email is tgodette@amherst.edu. I'm vrocco19@amherst.edu. I'm mainly coaching and recruiting the long sprinters. So I know this isn't multi jumps and throws, but my email's out there as well. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and hope to see you next week where we're talking to the first years about really in depth, what's it like to be a first year at Amherst? How's it all work? Just beyond choosing the room, filling out the room form like Casey was talking about. So yeah, let us know your questions for that, and we'll see you next week. Thanks everyone. Bye.